Dear friends, welcome to my channel AMP Workshop at the rate of Power System. Greetings to my knowledge sharing partners for sharing the Workshop 1 Power System Protection. This Workshop 1 consisting of various sessions, out of which Session 1 and Session 2 have already been completed, and today we are going to discuss Session 3. Session 3 has been split in two parts, part 1, part 2, due to its long duration. We will try to complete each part within 45 minutes as various my friends recommended or suggested to make it within 45 minutes. In line with their request, I am trying to complete it within 45 minutes each part. So let's start to the session, session 3, protection schemes and various protection functions. Now, before going into protection schemes and protection functions, I would like to highlight two terminology which we are frequently using in terms of protection. When we are talking about protections, we are using those two terminology. So I just want to, most probably all of my friends, they are aware of this terminology, but just still to refresh it, I am just trying to highlight once again. One terminology we called overload, and the second terminology we called short circuit or fault current. Okay, what is the difference between this overload and short circuit? Let's look into this. So I am writing these two terminology. One is called overload and another two called short circuit or fault current. Short circuit or overcurrent. Overcurrent. We can say overcurrent. One is a overload, another is overcurrent. What is the difference between these two terminology? Now, overload, suppose there is a motor of 10 kilowatt. It is running. Now, if you see the 10 kilowatt motor, about full load current is approximately 15 to 20 ampere, depending on the voltage, 380 volt to 415 volt, and power factor of the motor ranging is 15 to 20 ampere. That is the full load current. That means this amount of current, if it takes, then it will give 100% output. Now, each motor, there is a inbuilt some design margin. Suppose 20% design margin is there. So you can put more than 100% maybe for some time. Now, overload means you are running or you are feeding a power to a equipment is just above its rated condition, maybe 10%, 15%, 20%. This type of additional or excess current or power when you are feeding to equipment, we say this is overload. Suppose up to 50% you can make it overload due to different condition. But if the current going through the equipment is 5 times or 7 times or 10 times of its full load current, that means if the motor of 10 kilowatt, suppose 15 ampere is the full load current or 17 ampere is the full load current. Suddenly, if you feed a current of 170 ampere, which is 10 times of the full load current, then it is not the overload. We call it overcurrent or it is short circuit condition. But that is a overcurrent, and that situation can come out due to short circuit or fault condition. So these two terminology, one is overload, which is just above the rated condition up to certain percentage, up to maybe 50%. But overcurrent or short circuit condition is different when the equipment is subjected to a very high current, more than 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, up to 25, 30 times, depending on the fault condition. Then that equipment we say it's subjecting to overcurrent condition. Now, what is the consequences of this? Overload condition, it creates only the thermal condition. It increases the temperature of the equipment. When any equipment is getting past current more than is rated current, but within 2 times of the full load current, then equipment get overheated. That is called thermal effect. And due to overheating, what could happen? Equipment can prematurely fail due to overheating, and due to overheating, insulation can get failed or it can deteriorate, which can cause the failure of the motor. But in case of overcurrent, it is creating over thermal. It has also temperature effect. It will increase the temperature suddenly, but it has another serious consequences, that is due to high current flowing through equipment. there is a tremendous electromagnetic force created in the machine, and that electromagnetic force can blown out the equipment. So there is a mechanical damage. That means there is a thermal effect as well as there is a mechanical force created in the equipment which can cause the failure and blown out of the equipment. So these are two different scenario. Overload condition has only thermal effect, but overcurrent condition is a thermal as well as force or magnetic force or this mechanical force created through electromagnetic action. So that is the basic difference between these two. So this is we'll be discussing about this. We will go back with the explanation of these two terminology. Now we will go back to our today's agenda, that is protection schemes and various protection functions. That is the section 3. Out of this today we will discuss only various schemes, and out of the various protection functions we will discuss only the overcurrent function. Now let's come to the protection schemes. What is this protection schemes? Now, before going to protection, let me explain what is the protection functions, then it will be more clear. Any equipment, when you want to protect, why we are protecting the equipment? Due to various abnormal electromechanical condition which can cause in the system during its operation. To protect the equipment from those abnormal conditions, we are providing protection to a electrical equipment. Now, any piece of electrical equipment could be subjected to various type of abnormal condition. Just suppose as I said, everybody has seen the motors very well, so everybody knows about the motors. Suppose the motors, when it is feeding for a power system, suppose it is a low voltage motor of 415 volt rating. It is feeding from a power source. Now, suppose this motor, what are the various abnormal condition which can pass to this equipment. Now the supply is coming from the system. Suddenly system voltage can go down. If the system voltage goes down, then there will be an under voltage condition, and that under voltage, suppose the motor is rated for 415 volt, suddenly voltage comes down to 380 volt. Then motor will be subjecting to that 380 volt. The when a rated 415 volt motor subjected to a low voltage motor, then what will happen? If it needs to cater the full capacity, then the current will go up. Then motor will get overheated. That is one of the effects. So you have to protect this under voltage condition. So how we protect it? We provide a protection for the under voltage. So if under voltage takes place more than a certain time which motor can withstand, then motor should not operate. It should get out from the circuit. That means the motor should trip or motor should be isolated. So we need a protection for that. That is called under voltage protection. This is one type of protection. This protection we call a protection function. Suppose this under voltage protection, as IEEE, we designated by a numerical number, because all the protection functions has a numerical numbers. With the time you may be or most of them may be knowing. If not known, with the time you will be knowing of this terminology. We said it is a 27 is the number. That 27, when any electrical engineer see 27, immediately it will knock to him that it is a under voltage protection. That means the motor needs under voltage protection. That is one case. Secondly, suppose the motor, as I said, overload. Suppose the motor is carrying more than full load current for a continuously is carrying for more than half an hour or 1 hour. Then I said if it carries the overload condition or more than rated current for a long time, then motor will be overheated. Consequence of that, insulation will be deteriorating and motor will fail due to thermal reason. So that we have to. So if the motor get running with the overload condition, that means if it draw the current more than rated current for a long time, then we have to protect the motor. So this motor is another function that is called overload protection. That terminology we say 49. So this is another overload protection. Similarly, suppose there is a sudden short circuit between the two phases of a motor, either in the terminals or inside the winding, there is a between two phases there is a short circuit. Then what will happen? In normal condition, motor is carrying the full load current. So motor, when it's carrying a full load current, it is suppose I said 17 ampere current is motor is carrying a 10 kilowatt motor suppose. Now suddenly this motor, between the two phases becomes short circuit. So suppose this is a 415 volt is subjecting to a motor winding. Okay. Suppose this is one winding, then this is another winding, then this is another winding. So now, or you can draw this winding in a different way. In a start, suppose I connected it in a start form. So this is one winding, this is another winding. This is a star connected motor. Okay. Now we are giving supply from here. Okay. So this motor, then this is a current going through. It is I phase. Suppose IA, it is IB, it is IC. This is the current going to the motor. This is the motor winding. Now, in normal condition, it is taking currents about 17 ampere. Suppose. Now, the moment if these two, instead of going, if these two phases get shorted over here or somehow shorted over here in between the winding or shorted between here, then what will happen? The total impedance of the motor will be bypassed. Then the entire voltage flow between will be coming across this, and there is no resistance. So what will happen? Immediately it will go fault current. Maybe it is a 20 times fault current. That means it will go 340 ampere current within this motor. Then apparently the motor will burn. So this is another condition, that is we call short circuit condition or overcurrent condition. Similarly, suppose there is a motor has a problem, there is a imbalance in the system, or there is a ground fault. Suppose one of the winding got grounded. Then immediately what is happening? This phase, all this current will, the motor will be subjecting with a small amount of impedance in the circuit. So immediately this phase current, this particular, suppose C phase current will be suddenly very, very high. Okay, then this is the arc fault condition. This arc fault condition we call it is a either 50N or 51N depending on the tipping time. Similarly, overall condition which I said before, that is we call it is a 51 or 50. This is the terminology for the overcurrent. So these are the various abnormal conditions, and for each abnormal condition there is a protection. That protection we call protection functions. So now various equipment has a different type of protection schemes, but all the protection functions are grouped under two protection scheme. Whatever the protection functions, this type of protection functions available for various equipment, all protection functions are classified or grouped under two groups. And that is we call protection schemes. What are those two groups? Those two groups we call, one is your unit protection, another is a non-unit protection. What are these unit protections and non-unit protection? There are two protection schemes. One is called unit protection and other one is a non-unit protection. Non-unit, only this word to be added and will be added protection, non-unit protection. These are the two different type of protections. Now to understand this, why I am deleting this part over here, I will draw over here what is the difference between these two, so that it will be clearly, we will be understanding clearly. Now these two scheme, first we go to the non-unit protection, or you go to the unit protection first. What is called unit protection? Suppose I am drawing a circuit, okay? This is a switch or isolation device. Then this is a device. Suppose this is a transformer. Then it is going to some other. Okay, this is one example. Now, when you go to the unit protection, what is this unit protection? Suppose this is a transformer. This is called, we call it transformer. When this transformer is under short circuit or fault condition, at that time the fault current will flow through all the devices. If this is your source, if this is a generator is connected over here, the power will be flowing this way, it will go. If there is a fault over here, then fault current will be coming like this way, it will go and come to the fault like. So all these devices are subjecting to the fault current. But if due to the fault current, fault protection operation is only limited, but limited within this equipment. Within this equipment, it will be limited the operation of this device. No other device will be subjecting this condition. If that is the case, then we say this is a unit protection. That means when there is a fault over here, the fault condition or fault device will operate only in this area. No other area equipment will be operated. If that is the scheme, then we call it unit scheme. Like our differential protection, mass price current differential protection is a unit protection. How it is unit protection? Let's draw the mass price current differential protection, which I discussed before on first lecture, first session. Let us draw it again. Suppose this is my generator. This is my generator winding. This is the generator. This generator is connected by two CT, right? This is a CT1, CT2. Suppose this generator is connected here. Or you say it is a transformer, that will be easy to understand. Suppose this is a transformer. This is a transformer, okay? This is a transformer. This is a transformer. Okay. Now this is a CT. Now here we current differential. This is called 87 is a differential protection. That is a protection function number. Now suppose this side, this is generator is connected, which is feeding power. It is a single line form. This is a CT. Now the current is flowing this way, right? After transfer, it is going this way. Now, when there is a, suppose there is a fault over here. Yes, there is a fault in the system. This fault current, suppose IF, which is more than load current, normal load current. In that case, what happens? Due to the fault current, both the CT will sense the fault. So both current, so this current, secondary current will be flowing this way. Inside this CT, secondary current will be flowing this way. But the fault is over here. When the fault is outside, what is happening? This secondary current, fault current is coming over here. This fault current is coming this way. Both are, suppose this is a small IF. This is also a small, it is IF1, IF2. This IF1 and IF2 are equal. So, and it is following in opposite direction. This is coming this way, this is coming this way. So, this device will not see any net current. That means it will not, in this case, this device will not operate. So, that means if there is an outside fault, though the fault current is seen by these devices, but it will not operate. But if this fault is not over here, suppose the fault is over inside the CT, we call this is a zone of protection for this transformer. The location, the CT location is the zone of protection. So this was outside of the zone. Now the fault is over here. When the fault is over here, what will happen? Same fault current. Suppose the fault current going through this, but this CT is not subjecting this fault current. This fault current is not passing through the CT. It is just bypassing over here. Then it is going to ground. In that case, this CT will fault current of IF1 is coming over here. But here, this CT is not seeing any current. So immediately there is a net current will flowing through this is IF1 and this immediately 87 will operate. That means when the fault is within this area, only this device is subjecting to this fault and it is operating. So it is a unit type protection. What that means, it is restricted to this device only. We call it is a unit type protection. Okay. So this is a unit type. Similarly, there is a distance protection which is non-unit, but we can convert this unit protection to a non-unit protection to unit protection. How? Suppose this is a transmission line, it is going. This is a transmission line. Suppose there is a CT over here, there is a CT over here, or CT over here, you can say another way. Now, when there is a fault over here, then the current will flow and the fault current will go, both the CT is operating. Now, as it is a distance protection, only this end CT will see this fault, accordingly it will trip. But if we put two CT, two end, and when they will sense the fault current, that fault current, if I can transfer to some monitoring device, because this current, this is suppose 100 kilometer length transmission line. So we cannot bring this differential, that type of wire between these two, but we can send this signal by telemetry system to a common device, which will receive these two signal and compare this value. That signal will be transmitting through a telemetry or any fiber cable between these two ends, and through the fiber cable the signal will go to a phase comparator or current comparator, and they will compare the current and phase, and by comparing these two they can understand there is a fault is inside or outside. If it is inside, immediately they will trip. So that way distance protection is a non-unit protection, but it can be converted to unit protection by the fiber cable or telemetering arrangement. So that is another unit protection. So these are the two are unit protection. Now if you go to non-unit protection, most of the protections are non-unit protection, like overcurrent protection. I am drawing one circuit. Suppose this is again I am drawing it. Suppose there is a CT here, this is overcurrent. Then this is a breaker, this is another feeder, there is a CT, there is overcurrent here. Then here same, this is the overcurrent. Then it is going somewhere, it is again there is overcurrent like this. This is CT, this is overcurrent. So this type there are various, this is one of the network. Suppose this is one of the network. Now here you see how is it overcurrent. Now this is overcurrent. When there is a fault over here, the fault current will be passing through all this. It is a radial feeder. So this will see the fault, this will see the fault, this will see the fault. But what we will do, suppose this, and more or less it will be the fault current will be very less different because all are cable connection. So suppose this fault current operate at 1 second. Suppose this I say 1.3 second. It is a 1.5 second. We can distinguish in this way. But here all the device will see the fault and all the device can operate. All the device can operate. If this is not operating, this will operate. If this is not operating, then this will operate. Here all the device can operate. So this is overcurrent, it is a non-unit protection. Here is if the fault is over here, I cannot, with the overcurrent protection, I cannot restrict the fault over here. Similarly, if the fault is over here, we cannot restrict the fault within this area. It will be seeing this also in the case of overcurrent protection. Similarly, in case of under voltage, same way, suppose there is this is a bus. This bus, suppose it is a 415 volt bus, and there is a various feeder going from here. Some feeder is going to motor, some feeder is going to another, suppose transformer, yeah. Some feeder is going maybe lighting DB, all these things. Now, if there is a under voltage over here, then suppose it is a transformer, then secondary side is going to another bus. If there is 415 volt has become, suppose 300 volt. Then this 300 volt will be here, then it will be cascaded over here, accordingly it will be reduced. Here motor terminal voltage will be 300 volt, this LED will be, instead of 450 it will be 300. Then if there is a small lighting transformer over here, suppose it is a 415 volt by 120 volt, then now it will be proportionally reduced over here, it will be converting to 300 to corresponding value of this, that means 300 by 120 by 245 into 300, this will be the value over here. So in that case you can see, due to this under voltage, it will be cascaded all these devices. You cannot restrict this under voltage in one position. So this is under voltage also a non-unit protection. These are the different ways, these way various protection, non-unit, which is a non-unit, like a under frequency protection, overload protection, overcurrent protection, directional overcurrent protection, definite time overcurrent protection, earth fault protection, all are non-unit protection. So these are the mainly two group of protection. One is a unit protection, one is a non-unit protection. Unit protection is a differential protection, is unit protection. Distance protection with a carrier aided scheme, we call it carrier aided scheme. It can be converted in non-unit protection to unit protection. And in case of non-unit protection, most of the protections are non-unit, like under frequency, over current, under voltage, under current, then reverse power, under power, negative sequence, all are the non-unit protection. Okay. Now, out of these various non-unit protections, now today we will be discussing only the overcurrent non-unit protection, and then next session we will discuss the other non-unit protection. So let's see what is the overcurrent non-unit protection. Overload protection is when we said that when the current is just above the rated condition, then we call it overload protection, and that overload protection we define as a 49. 49 is a terminology for the overload protection. Now, in that case, the overload protection, it is happen when the motor, suppose there is a small bearing problem, or maybe the motor is slightly under voltage, then it can take more current, or suppose the motor is slightly loaded more, the mechanical load which is put on the motor, suddenly it becomes more. In that case, it is also overload protection. Then it can be subject to overload condition. Then suppose the motor due to bearing problem, some mechanical issue, also it can take overload condition. So these are the various overload condition. In the case of overload condition, we normally put thermal overload relay, or sometime relay itself has overload protection. Now, in case of overload, overload condition, how it will be? In case of overload, suppose this is a time, I am now the overload, condition overload means when the current is drawing by the equipment is more than full load current or full rated condition, but it is suppose 50%, 100 to 150% extra power, over current condition is there, then we say it is overload condition. So during overload condition, what will happen? It will not trip immediately. The motor will be isolated after some time, or equipment will be removed from the circuit. And after some time, overload device which is sensing the current condition, it will sense the current, but it will not trip immediately. It will give some time to avoid this abnormal condition. Maybe it is temporary, some overload is coming. So the characteristics, if you see this time current, this way is a time, and this side is a current. So the overload device normally does not operate in normal condition. It does not. The main protection of the overload is not for the short circuit. Main function of the overload device to protect the equipment from the overload condition, but it gives some backup protection for the overcurrent. Suppose the overcurrent short circuit condition, it has not operated, then overload may operate after some time. That is a backup. Sometimes it gives, depend on the characteristics of the overload, characteristics of the device, of the relay. Now the overload characteristics, if you see, this is the full load condition. Suppose this is a full load, full load. and suppose this is a 200 times or 2 times of I full load. This is the current. Now, if you see the time up to the full load condition, the motor should not, the equipment should not operate. Now, the protection characteristics of the overload protection, that means 49, now showing what should the characteristics of the 49, how the 49 time current characteristics. Time current characteristics of 49 is that due to the, up to the full load, it will not operate under any condition. Okay, when the current just go above, suppose 120% also, it may not operate. But if the current is more than 20%, then it will start operating. And then as the current increasing, here you see from the characteristics what we can see, suppose this is a 1.2 times. After 1.2 times, the curve is not intersecting, so it will not operate. This is overload characteristic of the device. So up to this current is up to, so when the current is here, and when current is this value, suppose this is a value of 1.3 times, suppose we can change the setting 1.3 times this point. When the current is 1.3 times, this is the current value, then corresponding operating time is this amount. So it will take, suppose this is your 10 minutes. When the current is 1.3 times of the full load current, then it will operate in 10 minutes. Before 1.3 times, it will not operate. But if we say now, I want to put overload 1.2 times, in that case, suppose this is 1, it is 1.2 is over, I select a curve like this. In that case, at 1.2 time, it will operate, but it will operate at 15 minutes service. And then as the current increases, suppose the current has become, it is a 1.5 times, immediately this will be operating on this time. Suppose it is only 5 minutes. This time. Then if you go further down, the curve will be exactly not flat over here. It will be inverse nature, okay? This will be like this. Now if you go further down, suppose current is about 2 times here. Then it will operate or less time. That means characteristics shows that overload relay characteristics for the thermal protection, it starts at suppose 1.2 times. Then as the current increases, time gradually reduces. That means if now come to the practical situation, when the more and more current is drawing, temperature will go more and more up. So you have to quickly isolate this device. But when the current is low, overload, but it is a lower range, then you can wait for more time. By this type of characteristics, we can get that type of, we can face that type of situation. So this is called thermal overload characteristics of a 49 device. So when we select the protection device for 49, we have to select the thermal characteristics of this relay or device in such that it will operate in inverse nature. And second point, the equipment, suppose the motor which we are talking about, the motor has its own thermal characteristics. Okay, motor has its own thermal characteristics. That motor thermal characteristics will be similar to the relay characteristics, and that characteristic should be located above the equipment characteristics. Suppose I want a motor itself has a thermal withstand characteristics. That thermal withstand characteristic motor is below this curve, then the motor will not be protected, because you see at this current, this amount temperature it can withstand the motor, but relay will be operating at this time. More after that, by that time motor got failed. So if you want to protect by any device by motor thermal protection, that this equipment characteristic should be above the thermal characteristics of the relay. This is the equipment characteristics. If this is the equipment characteristics, suppose this is the motor thermal characteristics and this is my relay characteristics, then only this device can be protected. Suppose the fault current over here 1.5 times. So motor can withstand up to what time? Up to this time. This may be 8 minutes. But protection device is operating at what time? Maybe it is a 5 minutes. So before going to the deterioration condition, protection is operated, right? Motor can withstand up to this time for 1.5 time. This is the motor characteristics. So this is the point. So corresponding time is 8 minutes. Motor can withstand 8 minutes, but relay is operating at 5 minutes. So relay is operating before motor burnout. So motor is well protected. That means by thermal characteristics, if you want to protect any equipment thermal characteristics should be above the relay characteristics. That is in brief. So this is the called thermal characteristics of the motor, or it is called overload characteristics. Clear? Now we'll go to the overcurrent protection. Now this overcurrent protection, there are various types of overcurrent protection. Now this overcurrent protection, we have already said what is overcurrent. Overcurrent is when the current flowing to a equipment is far few times of motor full load current. That means overcurrent condition will be prevailing when there is a short circuit in the equipment. either on the equipment or in the winding or somewhere is a short circuit. Then we call it overcurrent condition. In overcurrent condition, depending on the source capacity and the up to impedance up to fault point, fault current can vary from 10 times to 50 times, or maybe you can say 20 kilomp to 100 kilomp in the case of low voltage circuit. So fault current can vary widely, okay? And when this current is about 20 times of the full load current, or 10 times of the full load current, or 15 times of full load current, we call it is a short circuit condition or overcurrent condition. Now, in case of overcurrent condition, there is a overcurrent protection we provide. That overcurrent protection device, we can write down over here. Overcurrent device. Now, if the overcurrent will be two times, one is a phase overcurrent, another is a arc fault overcurrent. So, these are two different numbers. In case of phase overcurrent, what is phase overcurrent? Phase overcurrent means when the winding, suppose the equipment, suppose same motor, suppose this is a motor. These are the three winding of the motor, red, yellow, blue, or ABC, whatever say, red, yellow, blue. If the fault is between these two phases, suppose these are shorted, we call it a phase fault. But if a particular phase is going to ground, suppose this is a ground, then we call this a arc fault. So this overcurrent protection is two types. One type is a phase overcurrent protection, another is a arc fault protection, arc overcurrent. In case of phase overcurrent, we give the device number either 50, this is one number, another is a 51. I am coming to that. What is 50? What is 51? In case of arc fault, it is a phase overcurrent. In case of arc fault overcurrent, there are two ports. Same way, there is a 50N and 51N, or sometimes we say 50G also there, 51G. It depends on the where this 51G, 50N or 51N or 50G or 51G. These are the arc fault and this is the overcurrent. Okay. This is a another is we call also 64, 67. Okay. This is also overcurrent. 67 is also overcurrent. These are the three terminology we use for the overcurrent. Now, this overcurrent, first we come to the phase overcurrent. Suppose the phase overcurrent, how many type of phase overcurrent it can be? Phase can be shorted between red and blue. It can be between yellow and blue. It can be between red and blue. Or three phase coated can be shorted. There are four situations where phase fault can take place. But arc fault, it can take place similarly. Arc fault can be phase to ground, one phase to ground, two phase to ground, three phase to ground. There are various combinations possible. So all will be considered if this fault or short circuit lying between the phases, then it called phase fault. But if the fault is lying between phase and arc, or two phase to arc, or three phase to arc, anyway when it's connected to arc, then we call it arc fault protection. Now this overcurrent protection, it could be different type. What I said there is a phase overcurrent and arc fault overcurrent. Now in case of phase overcurrent, that means this case, this phase overcurrent protection again, it could be different type depending on the characteristics. One protection is called instantaneous overcurrent protection. You can, from the name you can make out, all the name have been made based on the operating time. In all the case, the protection device will take the current. That's no doubt. But operating time, we can control the operating time for the same current. So depending on the operating time selection, we divide the relay in the different category. One category we say it is an instantaneous overcurrent relay. What is that? That relay, when the relay has a particular current, suppose normal full load current is 100 ampere. Now, if I said if the current is more than 5 times, then relay should operate instantly. When the relay through the CT relay will sense the current is 5 times means 500 ampere instead of 100 ampere, it goes to 500 ampere. I want the relay should sense the current immediately. We should not wait. That is we call instantaneous overcurrent relay. Okay. So how is the character that relay we do? We instantaneous overcurrent. Okay. This is we define by 50. In case of phase fault, we said 50. In case of arc fault, we said 50N or 50G, whatever it could be. Okay. That when we discuss arc fault, we will define what is N, what is G. Now you just say it is a 50 is instantaneous phase fault, 50N or 50J instantaneous arc fault. So in that case, what we said when this has happened, immediately suppose this is a time and this is a current. Because all these overcurrent characteristics we draw on time versus current. Okay, all overcurrent characteristics are defined in terms of current versus time, because these are the two parameters. In case of overcurrent relay, we have only two control. One control is a current control, another is a time control. Either you can control the current or you can control the time. That's why the variation, the operation of the overcurrent relay depend on the current versus time. Okay, that's why all the characteristics of the overcurrent relay we draw in terms of current versus time. So in case of instantaneous overcurrent relay, what is that? Instantaneous, I said it is so now suppose this is my 500 times of current, what I said, okay, 500 times 500 ampere, my full load current. Suppose this is the full load, it is not the 0 one, or suppose this is a full load, okay, this is a 100 ampere, this is a full load condition. So after full load it will not operate. I say it is instantaneous, and instantaneous overcurrent relay has been set in such a way, we said when the current is 500 ampere, immediately it will operate. That means it will not give any time, only relay operation, that is relay operation time, because previously I said relay has its own operation time, because in case of digital numeric electromagnetic relay, relay CT will sense the current, it will come to the coil will sense it, then it will give a disc to move, and then its contact. So there is a time required for the operating of the relay. In the case of digital or solid state relay also, the relay CT signal will come there, then there is a various calculation that will do, and then after the calculation it will decide whether the current is 500 ampere or less. When you see the current is 500 ampere, then it will give the tip command. So in case of solid state relay, it is very fast, it may be operating in 20 milliseconds, solid state relay or digital relay will operate, but electromagnetic relay it may take about 50 milliseconds, that is the difference. So that time is required. So the moment fault occur, in case of instantaneous, what I said, when the current is 500 ampere, in full load is 100 ampere, the moment current goes 500 ampere, immediately after this 20 milliseconds, which is the time the relay will operate. So this is the relay characteristics. So after 500 ampere, whatever the current value, suppose this is a 1000 ampere, this is a 2000 ampere, whatever the current value, instantly the relay will operate after 20 milliseconds. This 20 milliseconds, we say it is instantaneous because this 20 milliseconds is the relay own operating time. I am not incorporating any intentional delay in the relay. Then it is called instantaneous overcurrent relay. Okay. But if we put some definite time delay in the operation, then we call definite time overcurrent relay. This instantaneous same relay, if I put some delay, there is a timer, I can put a delay in the relay. If I set some delay intentionally, then we call it is a definite time overcurrent relay. How is that? Suppose I want to put delay of 1 second. When the fault condition will sense by this relay. Suppose the relay, I said here, I am drawing where is the relay is connected. Suppose this is a relay is connected over here. This is overcurrent relay. Relay is connected. This is overcurrent relay. I said when this fault current will go through, suppose there is a fault over, this is another circuit, suppose the fault over here. I said when the fault over here, this relay will not operate instantly. It will operate after 1 second. Then I have to set this setting over here. That means the characteristic will be how that this is a 20 millisecond, this is suppose 1 second. I want the relay should operate after 1 second. When the relay senses the fault, after 1 second, relay should operate. In that case, and that's will operate when the current is more than 500 ampere, not 100 ampere. When the current is more than 500 ampere, means onward the current value, then the relay will operate at 1 second. So suppose current is 5 ampere, operating time 1 second. So point is here. Suppose current is 1000 ampere, same operating time 1 second, because I told definite time. What about the fault current? This relay will operate only after 1 second. So suppose current is 1000 ampere, operating time is 1 second, means this. Suppose current is 2000 ampere, same operating time is 1 second, it will go here. So how the curve will be? Curve will be like this. It is a straight line. So this time is a 1 second, or you can say 1.220 millisecond. Okay. 1 second when a 1000, 1200, 1020 millisecond. If you say 1 second, it is a millisecond. So 1 second means 1000 millisecond. 1020 millisecond, this will be the time. After that, relay will operate. This is called definite time overcurrent relay. And this is called instantaneous overcurrent relay. Okay. The same thing I have drawn over here. This is black color. This is a definite time overcurrent relay. Okay. This is what they do. In case of earth fault, same way. That in that case, earth fault, only one city will sense the earth fault, and the earth fault relay will be operated in the same way. These are the instantaneous overcurrent and definite time overcurrent. Now, there is another category of overcurrent relay, because this definite time over instantaneous overcurrent relay we use mainly for the outgoing feeders, transformer feeders, when we need to clear the fault immediately. Then we use the instantaneous overcurrent relay. But definite time overcurrent relay we use sometime in the incomers, because incomer, suppose this is an incomer. and this is a transformer feeder. Okay. If the fault is in the transformer, then immediately this should trip immediately. I should isolate the transformer. Then that is we put 50 here. And if this failed to operate, then it should operate from here. So it operate, then we put a CT over here. We put over here 51 definite overcurrent delay. Suppose this operating time is a 20 millisecond, and gap between these is we put about 0.25. So we said is a 500 millisecond. After 500 millisecond, it should operate. Because it has a, if this relay operate, this 51 operate, there is a lot of consequences. There are a lot of outgoing feeders over here. If this is operate, all this will be out. So if the fault is over here, it should operate. If it does not, if it fails to operate, then only we give a chance to operate this one. That's why we have to give a intentional time delay. And what about the feeder fault? Immediately it will trip only after this second. What about the fault? That's why we need a definite time over here. In this type of application, we use definite time over current delay. And in case of outgoing feeder, transformer feeder, or 50 motor feeder, if there is a motor fault, immediately we put 50. In that type of protection, we put 50 relay, because 50 is very sensitive. The moment fault is there, immediately it will trip. So if there is a disturbance problem in that device or in that equipment, we should not use 50. So this is a definite time and instantaneous overcurrent delay. Now we will go to the inverse time overcurrent delay. That is also tag is same is 51, but the characteristic is called 50. Yeah, it is the overcurrent delay. Now in case of overcurrent delay 51, these are the two categories. One is a non-directional overcurrent delay, another is a directional overcurrent delay. So non-directional overcurrent delay, we say 51, and directional overcurrent delay, we say 67. It is a directional. I am coming to that point. Now non-directional overcurrent delay, it has a inverse characteristics. Now if you see the non-directional overcurrent delay characteristic, there are these inverse characteristics. It could be 4 different types. Okay, 4 different types or 5 different. Okay, 4 different types. What is that? One is a long inverse time characteristics. That is the one type of 51, but 51 is a long inverse time characteristics, one overcurrent delay. Second is a standard inverse overcurrent delay. Standard inverse time overcurrent delay. Okay. Then third is a very inverse time overcurrent delay. And fourth is extremely inverse overcurrent delay. Extremely inverse time overcurrent delay. Another, we say out of this we can make another one, that is called inverse minimum definite time, IDMT. That is called inverse definite minimum time. It is inverse characteristics, but it has after certain time it become definite. At the end it can definite. Full characteristics is not inverse. That I will draw separately. That is called IDMT characteristics. Now all these characteristics which are drawn over here. These characteristics, for just to set the timing, I have drawn in advance over here. You can see all the characteristics I have drawn over here. These 4 characteristics. You see, this is a first curve. This is the first one, long inverse time characteristic. This curve is inverse in nature. Inverse means, what do you mean by inverse? When as the current increases, time decreases. That means it is the inversely proportional. As the current increases, time should be decreased. If the characteristic is like that, then we say it is a inverse characteristics. Now, how much curve will be there, or how much eccentricity will be there, that define the curve nature. Is a standard inverse, very inverse, or as the index or as the declination more and more, then we said the curve will be more and more extreme in nature. So you see, in case of long inverse, for the particular current, suppose this is the current value, corresponding operating time is high. For the same, these are the 4, 5 curve. This is a long inverse. This is the second curve is a standard inverse. You put with a mark with this. This is a standard inverse. This is your 1. This is a 2. This is 1. I did mistake. This is the first one is a 1. Second one is a 2, and this is a 3. This is your standard inverse. Okay. This is a long inverse which I have not given any number. Suppose this number is 0. This is a long inverse. In the long inverse, for the same fault current, it will be highest operating time. That is called long inverse. It is operating time is longest for any current. It is on the top. Normally, the curve which is on the top, that operating time will be more. That is the formula, normal, if you see at a glance. Now, second one is a standard inverse. You see how it is it started from this here, or this a standard inverse operating started at the first. When the current is over here, this is the current value. When the current is here, this started pick up. When the other is not operating. So that means a standard inverse, it will start fast, but its operating time for the initial phase, operating time is more than others. Okay, sorry, less than others. At the starting time, for the low value of the fault current, at the low value of fault current for the standard inverse, for the low value of fault current, it will operate in fast. And the very inverse or extremely inverse, it will operate at late. Suppose for the before the starting one, for the low fault current, suppose this is the fault current. So if you go up, you see the operating time, this relay, which is a standard inverse, it is operating fast. If then this is operating second. That means a standard inverse, very inverse, extremely inverse, in the low fault current, operating sequence is a standard inverse will operate first, then very inverse, then extremely inverse. Extremely inverse is up to this point, extremely inverse is not operating. Extremely inverse only capturing from this point. On this, that means up to when the fault current is here, this is the fault current, then only extremely inverse is operating. But extremely inverse operating, what about the time? Before that, these two curves are operating. That means for the low fault current, first operation will be a standard inverse, then very inverse, and then extremely inverse. But when the fault current increases, the characteristics just get reversed. After suppose up to 10 times current, this will be the sequence. But the moment current goes more than 10 times, immediately extremely inverse will operate fast. You see the curve has come down. This is the extremely inverse, this come down. So this is the current. At the time, this is the input, this is the operating. So this is operating over here. This is the time for extremely inverse. Definite inverse is this is the operating time. In case of a standard inverse, this is the operating time. So below the for the low value of fault current, the operation sequence is a standard SVE. A standard is a SVE. A standard inverse, very inverse, extremely inverse. And but in case of for high fault current, the sequence goes just reverse, SVS. So when the fault current is high, extremely inverse will operate fast, then very inverse, then a standard inverse. Okay, these are the four different type of characteristics, and already we have defined the definite characteristics. So definite time characteristics is depend on the moment they give the current setting. Suppose 5 times current or 4 times current, it should operate. From 4 times onward, it operate always at a constant time. That is the definite time over current relay. These are the 5 characteristics I draw. Now, if you see the application, log inverse characteristics is suitable as the overload. I say you see we have drawn the overload characteristics. It will suppose overload characteristics. It is a fit because for the initial time it is a very, and you see it is a more or less inversely proportional nature. Yeah, and so these long inverse characteristics normally we use for the overload protection of a equipment. Suppose we have not used any separate overload protection. In that case, a combined processor relay or combined relay or a same relay, in the same relay, we can select a characteristics. One of the characteristics we can select for the low current region, we can select the long inverse characteristics, which will protect the equipment from the overload condition. And in the case of a standard inverse, we can use the standard inverse normally when we see the fault current is getting changed due to generating capacity change. In that case, this characteristic is fit for that type of application. For when the fault current is gradually reducing with the distance, as we go from the source to the load side, as the distance are increasing, if the fault current gradually increasing due to the change of the generation, then we can use the standard inverse characteristics. And very inverse characteristics we use when the distance is, when the fault current is not depending on the generator fully, it is also depending on the distance of the fault point. As the fault point distance increasing, current is gradually decreasing. In that type of application, we can use very inverse characteristics. And extremely inverse characteristics we use generally for the outgoing feeders. When for the high fault current, it should trip immediately. You see, for high fault current, it is like instantaneous characteristics. Only this is the operating time. So, like a transformer feeder, outgoing feeders, we can use extremely inverse characteristics. And it has another application. You see, on the initial condition, it is not operating. Maybe it is a 6 times. Up to 6 time current, it is not operating. Then it is decaying. Some of the equipment which has a switching in starts, like a transformer feeder, motor feeder, when you start the motor, you know, motor takes about 7 times full load current, and if you make the instantaneous value, it may be 10 times. So up to 10 times, this protection should not operate. So initial switching surge, those equipment which has a switching surge, for that equipment protection, extremely inverse characteristic is very useful. Because if this is a, we can select the extreme characteristic such that up to 10 times current, it will not operate. After 10 times, it will gradually decrease. Maybe after 15 times, it will be immediately, it will trip. So that type of characteristics fit for that purpose. So this is mainly we use for the equipment which has extremely inverse characteristics. We use while the equipment has a switching surge or it needs to be tripped immediately, like a transformer feeder, motor feeder, then outgoing feeders, we use extremely inverse characteristics. These are the various. Now there is another characteristics which we call IDMT, inverse definite minimum time. This characteristic is more or less same, but here this minimum, when it's come to the flat position, that curve will be straight. Suppose this is a current and this is a time. It is an inverse characteristic, but here it become constant. It is initial nature is inverse, but after certain time you cannot control. Time is constant, like instantaneous. We call it a definite minimum time. This is the definite minimum time. This is IDMT characteristics. But nowadays, this microprocessor-based digital relay, we can, in the same relay, we can define 100 of curves. How we do that? I am giving one mathematical equation, how these characteristics are developed. From an equation, there is a mathematical formula between current and time with some constant, which give these all characteristics. That is, and from that mathematical formula, you can make out how all this thing is happening. You see here. Now, okay, let's go over here. Now, all the IDMT, all these inverse characteristics or overcurrent characteristics, which is inverse in nature, inverse nature of overcurrent characteristics, the operating time for a particular current, suppose I is the full load current. Yeah, I full load, that is we call suppose I reference. That is the reference current I put in the relay. Okay. Then at what time relay will operate depending on the fault. That time, if you say this time is T, that is decided by a factor K into A by I, this fault current, divided by I reference current, or you can say it is a setting current, to the power B minus 1. So there are three constants. A is one constant, A is one constant, and B is another constant. Now this K, you see here how is this K is a constant which will decide how many curves you can obtain from a particular relay. In case of electromagnetic relay, if you see the old electromagnetic relay, we call it TMS. TMS value in the old electromagnetic relay, TMS value it can be 0.1, 0.2, this way up to 1, 1.0. That means there are 10 value. This 10 value actually the value of K. K can be 0.1, K can be 0.2, K can be 0.3, this way up to K can be 1. This is applicable for the electromagnetic relay. That's why in case of any electromagnetic relay, overcurrent electromagnetic relay, we have a 10 TMS value, 0.1, and that TMS value, if you plot a curve, that TMS value curve will be like this. Same, this is a time, this is a current, this is time. Okay? The curve will be like this. There will be 10 sets of current like this. Okay? And then this is a fixed value. These are all fixed at the end. So this will be K, the lowest one is a K 0.1, this is a K equal to 0.1, and last will be K equal to 1. There are 10 curves you can draw like this way. If you see electromagnetic relay characteristics curve, you can see this type of 10 curves are there. Bottommost curve is a K equal to 0.1, the TMS, we call TMS, we call time multiplier setting is equal to 0.1, and then it is 0.2 TMS, 0.2, 0.3, like 0.10. So this K decide this how many curves you can get. In case of electromagnetic relay, K has a 10 value, 0.1 to 0.10. But in case of digital relay, you can get 1000 curves. You can put K equal to 0.001. It is an algorithm, it is dependent on the algorithm. So you can define any number of curves to fit your requirement. Yeah. That is the K. And then there are two value A and B. A and B, it is deciding, this B value deciding this eccentricity at the bottom part. That is for high fault current. For high fault current, how the eccentricity will be there? Whether it is the extremely inverse or very inverse, that is the bottom part of the curve. This decide. So this is your standard inverse. Then this is your very inverse. Then this is your extremely inverse, right? So this is a time curve. This is a standard inverse. This is a very inverse. This is extremely inverse. This part of this curve, this nature will be decided by A, and this part is decided by factor B. So B actually responsible to make the curve eccentricity high or low. As you increase the value of B, eccentricity will be more and more, because you see B, when you increase the value of B, time of operation will be less. It is in the denominator. So as you increase the value of B, obviously this eccentricity will be more and more. If you increase B more, then it will be more coming to the time axis. It will less operating time. That is obvious from here. So the B is deciding the high current eccentricity, and A is deciding the low value eccentricity. These are the equation by which this overcurrent delay characteristics is decided. Okay, so these are the overcurrent delay. So this is for this session, for this part 1 session. Then in part 2 session, we will discuss about this other non-directional overcurrent delay as non-unit protections and various functions like a distance relay. We will also discuss, under voltage we will discuss, over voltage we will discuss, under frequency we will discuss, and their characteristics. Along with, we will discuss about the unit protection like a differential protection. Along with this, we will include another part which we missed out last session, that is various type of relay output contacts, that we will include in part 2 session. That's all for today. Thank you very much for all of you to sharing or joining with this knowledge sharing workshop, and thank you very much. Thank you.